The interrogation scenes were another one for me that they were always there, and we always knew we wanted them, but they came together very late. It was a real eureka moment when they clicked, because there were times where we were unsure whether they should go in, whether or not we should just leave it with the narration over the top. But I mean, having them in now, I can't imagine the game without them.
No, it was really difficult because it was really important to me from the beginning of it to go, we're playing a story that's being told, and the actual real time of what's going on here is in the interrogation room. So it let us do really ridiculous things in the story, because you could always cut away and have the general's disbelief of what was going on. But yeah, so it was one of those real things where you know exactly what you want to do, but the practicalities are what really matter. And it was kind of touch and go for a while, going, we actually got the sort of time and space to put these things in.
This scene, I remember the first time that we saw this. So this scene was in the game for a long time, and Ivan would just stroll past it. And then John, our art director, kind of came in and did a lighting and VFX pass on it one day and showed it to us, and it was like, okay, yeah, there it is. Wow.
I love that as well, because it's talking about Prokfievs, and they're one of my favourite things in the world, where there was a surplus of jet engines and a surplus of tank chassis. So someone had the wonderful idea of welding jet engines to the top of tank chassis as minesweepers, which is just brilliant. Everyone loved the T-Rex from the word go. This is, again, something that went in very, very early and went through an awful lot of iterations to get feeling really right. But I think as soon as the very first T-Rex model went in, even though it wasn't animated and it was just this two-dimensional cardboard cutout chasing even along platforms, it just felt like one of those moments where everyone went, oh yeah, that's the game we're making. We really get it. We really understand it. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I remember the various different sizes we made him as well. Like this, when we did this scene originally, he was probably half that size. And it looked ridiculous. It looked like a small dog was trying to bark at Ivan.
It's one of those places as well where the fact that Ivan's making it all up as he goes along. So we'd have stuff like going, well, if he works at that size in this place, he doesn't work if he's that size in this other place. And at some point we just went, it's all rubbish. There is no T-Rex. Ivan's making it all up. He can change size literally from scene to scene. He just has to be the right size for the story. And I think that was something that was really, really important in the game, of going, we're kind of playing with almost like a dream logic. Provided it's a good story, that's the only thing that matters. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to entertain the general. Because what we're really watching is Ivan talk for his life, and all he's trying to do is keep the general entertained. And if the general gets bored, then the firing squad gets called, and it's just as simple as that. And I think that's it kind of lets you do some really interesting stuff when you're not having to go, hang on a sec, we've got to do a load of exposition here. I think culminating in the point at the beginning of episode 6 where Ivan goes, 3 weeks passed, and we go, what? And just fast forward through the 3 weeks, because nothing happened in those, and you don't have to do any explanation. You can just make it up as you go along. It was really important that each episode felt very different, that we wanted to have that sense of, if this is going to be a story, if this is going to be episodic, then it's really important that they feel completely different, that we have totally different colour palettes, different lighting effects. You go from, this is a prehistoric jungle, to this is a lost civilization, to this is the bottom of the sea, to this is, the Iceland of Sannikov. And that was a real challenge, because within sort of like a game of this size, that's a huge amount of environments and different sets and different kind of conditions to work with, which is, it's an art team's nightmare really, because you can't reuse many assets. You can't basically go, okay, we're going to grade the entire game. So for a kind of relatively short, kind of relatively small mobile title, I think when we talk about it sort of like having the soul of a console game, that's a really kind of pretty much what we mean, because there's way too much art in here for a game of this scale. But that's the sort of stuff which I just think is, it's really exciting for us to play with. This is definitely one of the favourite, most loved sequences in the game, and it kind of was from the word go. From the moment we went, what if he hides in an egg? What if we had a stealth sequence where he's hiding in an egg, and then he kind of lowers the egg embarrassedly down whenever he's looked at? It just felt perfect, and I feel like it's one of the things where I go, I'm really glad that we can look back and go, we got that into a game. And really, really helped. We should also talk about here, sort of like pay tribute to Jessica Curry and Jim Fowler's score. I think this sequence particularly is really amazing when the music is following it. But in general, I mean, I always feel we're incredibly privileged to work with them, and they turned out, I think, a score which again belongs in a much bigger game. It's a film score in a mobile game, which is, you know, really amazing to be able to have that. And that's, you know, partially it's great as a studio to have got ourselves to the point where we can say, well, this is what we do. We do make this kind of investment in music and voiceover and art and stuff like that. It's kind of our trademark. So we set ourselves a very high bar to hit. But it means you can do stuff like this, which I think is just a wonderful sequence.